Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Comment Dense podcast. And while the normal jive music is playing, we enter with a somber occasion today. For we, unfortunately, are here to also honour a fallen comrade as of tomorrow, as we are, of course, not celebrating, but mourning the death of Mario. Pray silence for the plumber. You have plumbed your last pipe. Welcome everyone to the Common Dance podcast. My name is Ebac, of course, joined as normal by to the left of me, Burr, to the beneath me, Shadow Phoenix Rider, and to my deep diagonal, it is of course Lemming Russ, who's running the show on his channel as well. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And what sorry state we find ourselves tonight with, you know, of course, the impending execution of Mario due tomorrow morning. He's going to be shot at dawn by
firing squad.
By a special Nintendo players firing squad. Yeah, it's a weird week. It's been a weird month as well. For that much so, we're gonna kind of launch right into it with the news, but just after we check in. How is everyone this week?
I'm okay. I'm still here. I'm still alive.
Cool. Then that's always a good plus. Always alive. Yeah, not unlike Mario. Yeah, go on. Good. Yes.
Yeah, alive and kicking, ready to comment densely on what was happening. What will be happening.
That's about as much as can be said.
That makes me wonder, what do you think the last meal request for him would be?
Mushrooms.
It would be mushrooms.
He got a trip on the way to death.
No, he's gonna have a green mushroom.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yes.
If he can get away with it, he'll have the one-up mushrooms.
Yes.
Yeah. A one-up mushroom
He'll
for
just have
my.
a normal mushroom and punch through the wall.
Yeah, that's the way of doing it as well.
I would request a one-up mushroom and then play dead as convincingly as I can.
Oh, the Metal Gear Solid 3 technique, you mean? Yeah, I can appreciate that.
He asks for a poison mushroom and then says, "Fuck you guys, I'm going out on my own terms."
On my own terms.
That's fair.
You can't fire me, I quit.
That is certainly a way to go. Good evening, everyone. So let's kind of dive into... we've got a variety of topics that we're going to get through tonight. Mostly gaming news. So we, of course, begin with as we kind of picked a selection of news that's crossed the kind of our desks over the last month and kind of comment densely upon them, as is the name of the show. And yeah, then we're going to kick it off at the end with the main topic of discussion, which is going to be about preservation, which I'm very excited to talk about tonight here on the show. So let's get the news train going. As a follow-up from a article we done last month about J.K. Rowling and the Hogwarts Legacy game, rumors are abound that the company that's making the game are actually introducing transgender characters as character options within the game. So as I say in my my comment here, transgender characters in Hogwarts Legacy, we're not JKing JK. We are. It sounds true, and to be fair, there's a lot of kind of pushback a bit from the community about this, about how it's a bit insensitive. It's them trying to take advantage, and it's them doing this. I think trying to suss out motivations of the company is a bit. You can accuse them, but there's no evidence to suggest that it is them using it as a marketing ploy. To be fair, they'd be stupid not to use it as a marketing ploy, but I still think it's a good thing. Because come on, you know, there's no bigger middle finger to her right now than just doing that.
I mean, that's how I feel about woke brands kind of things. It's like, yeah, they are sort of profiting off inclusiveness, but clearly they've seen where the winds are blowing and they can make money off it. So if they do it right, then all for it, mate.
It's just about not.
It's
just a case of not being insensitive about it. It's more the kind of thing.
Exactly. There's a point where you can overtip the balance and become overly woke, and then you're just annoying. But if you do it right and actually keep the path you've chosen, I'm all for that. Cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So that I thought it'd be nice to start with that. Just get it out of the way. just a quick kind of touch on that topic, move on. I think it's good. Do you have anything to add to Burr?
I just want to add that we will return to this topic because as it grows, as the development progresses in the game, I'm curious to know what that would actually mean, that they will be adding transgender characters. Would that mean there will be some stories involving that?
From what I've heard, they're separating the pronouns and also voices, but I can't. Of course, these are just rumors, so I can't sort of say.
Yeah, it's something which it's possible for a wider topic to kind of go into this about character options and things like that. Like in as you guys know, I run the Star Wars RPG game, and recently in D&D, at least something which has come. I don't claim to know a lot about D&D, but I know there's this push by the company who make it to actually Wizards from the Coast to actually move away from having benefits as race options and having more like a lineage thing where you can be whatever, you can have the benefits of whatever species. It just doesn't matter what your species is because that's your choice. And I can kind of see that kind of the appeal of being like, okay, yeah, there's no benefits, there's no difference to playing any race. You could just choose your benefits. And I think there's a definite appeal to the kind of customization of that. But I think that's a discussion to get into, especially when we get around to things like what you're going to talk about, Shadow, regarding of paying for gear that can look the way you want it to look and things like that.
Oh, transmogrification, yes.
Transmogrification, yes. I'm a big proponent of player choice and having the best options for people. So I think it's whenever a company's like, let's give them the choice to do what they want and not pigeonhole them. I think that's a good idea. Right. The one topic that unfortunately just missed us by a couple of hours last time it was kind of a there and gone. The old classic argument has rearranged in Illinois, of all places. Illinois.
Yay!
Of course, as I believe it was the governor of Illinois, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Governor.
Governor.
Yes, it was.
I'm going to quickly find the article about this. Yes. So yeah, there's a U.S. politician. For the sake of clarity, it is a Democratic politician, but doesn't really matter if you're a prick either way.
Yeah.
It's just because if I say that, there'll be a reporter there saying, "Oh, it's a Democrat." Oh yeah, it's a Democrat. Big whoop.
Still a dick.
There's dicks on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, and they sound pretty much the same no matter what side they're on.
Yeah, pretty much what Burr just said. They say the same insane stuff no matter what side of the political spectrum they remain on. Basically, there was talk about how there is a talk of a ban that would change the ban from just being able to sell violent video games to minors to anyone, to just prohibit the sale of all violent video games with a penalty up to $1,000 or £709, according to the article here I see on Eurogamer. So credit to Eurogamer and Emma Kent for that article. Now, they define, or he defines this as we would also modify definition of violent games to one that allows a user or player to control a character within the video game that is encouraged to perpetuate human-on-human violence in which the player kills or otherwise causes serious physical or psychological harm to another human or animal. Pretty broad spectrum there.
Whoops.
I'm just saying, that's a pretty broad spectrum.
If you're including animal, Mario.
Goombas.
Mm-hmm.
Goombas are people too. Yeah.
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 They're sentient creatures, yeah.
Could that be the reason behind the sentence?
Well, there you go. That's just Mario's dying. He's been sentenced to crimes against humanity. Mario, that's it. Yeah.
The earliest video games out there. Space Invaders.
Yeah. Doctor says the only thing that could happen in space games. Well, but is it, Doctor? Because if I decide to turn the wheel against the car you're in, am I trying to then commit murder?
Yeah, but some games you actually commit violence against other people, so.
Think about what other
throw shit at them.
Right, what else?
From your exhaust are doing to the environment as well.
Shadow, you want to complete your point?
Yeah, but in some racing games, like, I don't know, Mario Kart, you throw shit at other people, which is, I don't know, I think that's maybe considered violence?
Oh, you're showing that you're throwing the shells of animals at people, as you know.
Exactly.
That's on two fronts wrong.
Possibly with the tortoises inside.
Possibly with them inside. How else do you think that blue shell homes?
We can look at it from the other side of things as well.
Go on.
You know, WWE games.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
On the television, we all know that it's sports entertainment.
Yeah.
That it's people
It's
throwing
still
themselves around in a ring for our entertainment.
But I challenge
But on
any.
the game, you're pressing buttons to punch people.
I challenge anyone to turn to their shelf of games, look down that list, and not find a single game within the first 3 that doesn't in some way violate those rules. And
I
then,
have Shadow the Hedgehog over here.
yeah.
I have all kinds of games from Monkey Island to Monkey
Hang on.
all of them violated.
And I made a mistake. They're now all off.
Hold on, I'll be off then as well.
I have these 3. I have these 3 to begin with.
Well, we're already down. We're already kind of committing violence here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It just gets worse and worse. These games.
Look at this. I mean, look at this.
Shadow the Hedgehog. You know, classic example. Classic example.
I mean, it's rated
You
as
said
12.
specifically the first 3.
I
yes?
said specifically the first 3.
Oh,
Gundam 2, Gundam 3. Is it Gundam 4? No, it's Gundam Zeron. Well, the point stands.
Got
They
Super
still.
Smash Bros. Melee.
So yeah.
Okay, I got the first 3 too. This one, absolutely violent. Ring Fit Adventure. You are murdering all those creatures with your legs and your abs and your biceps.
Yeah, you are.
Absolutely. Escape from Monkey Island. You're carrying a duck in your pants for half the game. If that's not violence, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
In that company, I mean, this game looks pretty mild, I would say.
Yeah, that's probably one of the worst offenders right there. I mean, I'm gonna look at my shelf here. Go on.
I mean, we got Pokemon games here. There's a whole load.
In a
Creature and
Pokemon
creature
games are
violence,
even worse. You're literally a slave driver.
Yeah. Let's look here. I'm looking at my shelf from PS4 games. I'm gonna go from the bottom for the bottom 3 and then the top 3. We're gonna see if we get anywhere. Let's see. First one, Assassin's Creed Unity. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that one counts. Next one, Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Again, case in point. Crash Bandicoot. Still, you're committing quite a lot of harm towards the animals you're going through as you go by.
Yeah, and the polar bears.
And the polar bears. Can't forget the polar bears.
Yes.
From the top, Oni. Yes, that you're hitting people in that. I remember that. Little Big Planet 3. You're popping people made out of sacks. I guess if you consider them sentient, sure. It's borderline.
That's the
walk
first one that can
and
actually
talk
sneak
the
through.
sense.
Like that one might sneak through, but next one down is Mortal Kombat. The next one down more than enough to make up for it. Mortal Kombat 11. So.
Well, the Little Big Planet will sneak through on
So we've got
technicalities
one
alone.
out of all of those.
Yeah, and even that one is dodgy.
Yeah.
And I went into my PC drawer down here, and the first 3 games are Discworld,
Oh God, just
where you use a dragon as an assault rifle. The War of the Worlds, where you're fighting Martians and blowing the fuck out of them, and Mech Commander Gold.
Oh, Mech Commander, amazing game.
Yeah.
But the point.
I got close with this one, but the problem is on the back it says hunt. It says hunt dangerous beasts. Oops.
Oops. See, here's the thing, and this is why.
You're out!
And this is why this whole thing is ridiculous, because the violence is a fact of life. Violence is part of video games. And of course, I mean, we all know violence only started back in 1980 once the actual NES was, when Pong was first invented, the first violent video game, No, violence has been a part of the human race a long time. And I do think there is a problem with violence in media in terms, but it's so saturated, you can't get away from it. And there's nothing you can play in a video game that is as bad as what you can see in a movie or on TV.
Or in a cartoon, yeah.
Or in a cartoon. And
I mean, look at Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry.
It's just enough to turn on any news program, and you'll be having all kinds of car chases and shooting reports and all kinds.
I don't think
you don't have to go to games for violence.
I also don't think there's an issue with having violent games. I do, I completely agree. Ban the sale to minors because you shouldn't be playing games if you're those kind of games if you're that younger.
Yeah, exactly.
If a game is rated 18 plus, adult rating, then a child should not be able to get his hands on them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I completely agree. It's just that
You know.
it's the people not enforcing these laws, and it's the classic example of a politician doing. Making it look like they're solving a problem without actually solving
Yeah,
the cause of the problem.
Even from the logistical point of view, this is so stupid that it can be only. Even I don't think this guy thinks of it any more than a publicity stunt.
It isn't. Yeah, it is a publicity stunt.
It would have to be enforced somehow, and the state of Illinois has millions of things that they should be spending money rather than on enforcing the stupid ban.
Yeah, because at that point, okay, yes, they're doing this ban. At that point, they've got to pay, presumably cops to enforce the ban, which then cops are not doing the stuff like, I don't know, stopping the violent, thefts and crimes and things that are going on.
Yeah.
You want to try and ban something that is already very, very prevalent within the culture
You're not.
of the world. Just look back to the 1920s.
Prohibition.
Yeah. You will have to. Well, you will give some jobs because you have to hire commissars that will be going from store to store, checking if they are not selling illegal, violent games
Are
to
you
people.
selling video games?
Selling video games.
Fess up!
You're selling violent video game. I mean,
Do you know where I
Don't
can
be
get
violent media in
the video
general.
games?
yo,
Do I see a Spyro on your shelf?
Can
You're
you-
going with us, buddy.
Can you hit me up with a Lego Star Wars? It fits.
Yeah.
Got
But
any
I-
Oh.
cyberpunk?
Apparently, you sound quite quiet in the mix to people. Loving. I'm going to turn you up. Give me a second.
Please do. I'm usually the loudest one.
Going to another example, the 1954, if my history is correct, the Comics Code Authority.
Oh, yeah.
Comic books were the scapegoat in the 50s, and from the, I don't want to give it what is it? The Seduction of the Innocent was it was called? Yes, the Seduction of the Innocent, written by who is it written by? Frederick Wertham, who accounted a lot of society's ills and degeneracy to comic books. And that led to the Comic Code Authority, which absolutely butchered the comic industry to the point where Marvel Comics and DC Comics nearly fell in and went bankrupt because the storylines went from, oh, let's catch the bad guys this week, as what color batsuit will I wear tonight, Robin? And such ridiculous storylines such as that. Now, it did lead to some great kind of sci-fi elements of comic books coming out, I will admit, but it was not a great era for comic books. As someone who is someone who is even a general fan of that era or the general fan of comic books knows that's just we wouldn't have the MCU today without if the Comics Code Authority got their way.
Let's just take a step and look at human history when it comes to people being hated for corrupting the youth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Greek
was
philosophy. Back in ancient times, ancient Greece, Greek philosophy. Half of them were hated by their government for corrupting the youth.
Mm-hmm.
And now we look at them as great ancient wise ones.
Yeah, philosophers,
Mm-hmm.
Not mentioning that they lived in barrels and
in the 1700s, there were a lot of voices, especially I think in Britain and France, against the youth reading novels like the Daniel Defoe's, Robinson, etc. Because they were corrupting them, they were making them lazy and daydreaming and giving them all kinds of reason to slack off. So there were voices to ban writing them.
A lot of it comes down, in my opinion, to the key example of the human race never wanting to admit the problems are their own and their own doing, and they're always looking for something to shove the blame onto. We're not perfect as people.
Women.
So, what was that?
Usually women.
Usually women. Although it can be, it was.
Probably list all the things that I'm supposedly doing wrong by having the vote, being able to read, reading a bicycle, wearing trousers. I mean,
every era of humankind has had a scapegoat for the evils that they have permitted.
hmm
I mean,
And everyone knows riding a bicycle is bad for the anatomy.
Oh yeah, it's horrible.
so yeah, I think we've made our point on the topic quite clear. Is quite frankly ridiculous. It's never going to get any traction, and if it does get traction, whoever votes for it is also a fucking idiot.
Yeah, they're literally putting a plaster over the top of an abscess. Really.
Yeah, that's the problem.
There's our medical expert there.
Yeah, so I'm going to bringing medical terms into it again. It's not solving the root issue of the fact that crime exists for certain reasons. Someone doesn't just go, I'm going to go and commit crime. There's a baseline reason, which is usually down to poverty, down to the fact they don't have a job, down to the fact we're in the middle of a pandemic where a lot of people have lost their job in that time. I think there's going to be a rise in crime because people feel like they've got no other way choice out. Yep. And I'm one of these people who does believe in reform, does believe in giving people a second chance, does believe in rehabilitation. There are some criminals you can't change. That's because they're too deep. But that doesn't mean we should treat everyone as unescapable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, the blame must be lying somewhere else because the countries that have the lowest ratings of violence are the countries that are selling and buying millions upon millions of copies of games, including violent video games, like Japan, like South Korea.
Yeah, but the thing is,
obviously, North Korea is not buying any.
Yeah, I mean, I'd argue there that Eastern culture, especially Japan, is a very different culture. Very different. I mean, not to kind of, insult anyone from there. It's just it has its analogs to Western culture, but there's also some really out there stuff that we're like, really, that's strange. That's really, really strange. And believe me, I think we might even get onto that topic at some point later tonight in our discussion about preservation, but we'll wait for that. But it is different culture, so I can understand how that would be. But the point is that no one should feel like that the issue is video games, issue is comic books. There's always an underlying issue, which is, I mean, someone might read comic books. We've all seen it. Whenever there's kind of a shooting or anything goes on or some tragic event, we've all say, "Oh, he had Grand Theft Auto in his game collection." Who the fuck doesn't have Grand Theft Auto in their game collection?
I mean, that game
you don't.
More copies than the Bible.
I have to be the exception that proves the rule. So.
No, but the thing is, not everyone does. But the point is that the majority people would, and also it's quite a prevalent game that it'd be it's more surprising that someone doesn't if they're an adult.
Yeah. Well, I played Doom when I was young, so maybe that's what they're gonna come at me for.
Well, that's the thing. If it wasn't Grand Theft Auto, they'd find another game that you shouldn't have or that they reject to.
I was just checking which shooting there was. I was just checking which shooting there was. There was a Sandy Hook school shooting where the shooter was an avid gamer and was spending all his time playing a game. Call of Duty. But no, Dance Dance Revolution.
Yep,
the worst one.
Oh, crime against humanity, right there. Oh
How could
dear.
he do such a thing?
How could he do such a thing? In both terms.
I apologize for my camera. Something's fucky with it, and I can't figure out what.
Yeah,
I will hopefully have it fixed by next time.
Yeah, that's what, $2,000 worth of computer right there.
Well, no, this is almost $3,500 worth of tech.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that it's probably not the computer. It's most likely the camera.
The webcam is the cheapest thing here.
Yeah, there you go.
It was cheap until the pandemic hit, and then it became not cheap.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad I picked mine up just a couple of years ago because I would not be able to pick mine up for a prayer now. Moving along to controversial lines and dialogue. I actually over the weekend binge watched this series. I actually binge watched Wandavision across the weekend.
We're gonna need a spoiler alert, by the way.
Oh yes, of course. We're gonna need the spoiler alert.
Let's put the alert. Yes.
I don't have it, but I will put it in the bottom in the current topic. Spoiler alert. We're discussing Wandavision, which is the MCU series on Disney Plus. Now, I'm not going to get into too much spoilers, but the timeline I'm going to mention is an important scene. So I will remove the spoilers tag once we've finished discussing it, so you can then turn the audio back on. If you don't care about WandaVision spoilers, then perfectly fine. But it's not going to be talking about anything massive, so don't worry.
Excuse me while I mute myself.
Oh, lovely.
Fair enough.
So
No,
one thing, great show. I highly recommend watching it. I literally thought I'll watch a couple of episodes. I ended up staying up until early hours of the morning watching the damn thing on Saturday because it was like, oh, this is so good. Next episode.
It's great. Oh, this is where I kind of envy you, but kind of not for waiting until it's all over and then binging it. Because I started watching as it was aired week by week, and at first it's good thing that they've revealed 2 episodes on the first week. I would in hindsight I would prefer that to be 3 episodes. Because the first episode, it's kind of it's a very slow burner. The first 2 episodes.
That's the thing. Anyone who's going in expecting this massive kind of big bombastic affair, it's not. It is a slow burn. There's not a lot of action. It is mainly a drama comedy series, and it's really good in what it does.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting it to from sort of maybe a bit more to get into a bit more bizarre things that they would just ignore. In the first episode, there was just one thing with the choking boss.
Yeah,
that was kind of weird and started to get me hooked into it.
Yeah, I do agree. It does a lot to kind of have the like there's more going on here that meets the eye. Highly recommend for anyone watching it. But the main thing I'm going to discuss about also Falcon and the Winter Soldier, also a good show. I'm starting to watch that.
Yeah,
great show. Yeah, great show. Watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's a great show as well.
Yeah. If you have a strong will, wait and binge watch it like Ebag did with WandaVision. If you have an even stronger will, watch an episode a week, like people did in the olden days.
Or just watch the MCU. By the time you finish watching all those films, you will have wasted all the time necessary for the entire series to come out. In fact, you might be halfway through Loki by the time that happens. Anyway, right. Now, there was a bit of controversy online because there was a Twitter post sent out by someone who basically was making a comment about a line in the show which was extremely poignant for that person, to the point where it became a meme. To the point, when I say a meme, a negative meme, and the fact that people were like posting stupid kind of film lines over it. Basically, the comment was, I think the tweet was, hear that sound? That's the sound of every scriptwriter in Hollywood saying fuck. But basically because the line was so good, and the line
under their breath or something.
Yeah, under the breath. Yeah, and the line is, "What is grief if not love preserving?" Which is persevering. That's it. Which is a fantastic line, delivered amazingly in the series by Vision.
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany. What? I still can't believe his career was nearly over. I still.
I just want to add one more thing, kind of from out of left field, but regarding Paul Bettany, he was masterfully trolling people regarding the final episode of WandaVision, where he was saying that he doesn't want to tell much, but he will be acting together with the greatest actor that he's ever met.
Yeah, I'm sure he would be. And in terms of that, there were a lot of people kind of poo-pooing this person's comment because saying how, oh, if you like that, go and watch something like, Citizen Kane. And I feel like the internet can be very catty when it really, really wants to be. There's no reason to shit on someone liking something.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people here who, there's a lot of, I am gonna call them snobs because that's what they are to me.
Yeah.
Who they look down at the MCU movies or action films and people who just watch that kind of stuff as uncultured. It's like they may not enjoy those kind of films and the high kind of brow, films. Yeah, but just because they don't like that doesn't mean that they are uncultured. Doesn't mean that it doesn't give you the right to look down upon them and say and basically peer down your nose and push your glass up and say I'm better than you in that kind of way. Just let people enjoy what they want to watch. Like the other day, I've seen Citizen Kane. It's a masterpiece of cinema. It is. But if someone said, "Okay, you're gonna die. You're gonna got one last movie to watch," you got two choices. One is Citizen Kane, and one is the Avengers. What's your option? I say, get me a fucking shield because I am watching. Because I'm watching the Avengers. You know.
Hell yes. And at the end of the day, it's all down to people's opinions. Everyone has an opinion.
Yeah.
Everyone has a preference.
Yeah.
I mean, I might find The Shawshank Redemption to be my favorite movie of all time because it is. It's an amazing film. It was really well done. But at the same time, I really, really like The Rock.
Yes.
If I was given the choice, I would probably choose neither, because even till the last moment of my life, I would rather watch something that I hadn't watched before.
No, the more the point is the fact that just because thing might be the greatest masterpiece, like people will say the Mona Lisa is the greatest piece of art in the universe. Couldn't care less. I'm interested in the art that I'm interested in. It's amazing. It is a piece of art. It is a wonder of the world that nothing I say will ever take that away from it.
Yeah.
But I also enjoy what I enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Let's start with Shadow first.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Stonehenge, and that shit is tiny. And I understand it's a big cultural thing in our history, but to me, I looked at it. It's just like
it's a pile of rocks.
It's a pile of rocks, and it's tiny.
Yeah.
It's just like things that I'm more. There are other things in history that I'm more interested in.
If you ever want a laugh, look up Egyptian opinions on Stonehenge.
I'm gonna have to look that up. But
I
have to look that up as well.
But you wanted to weigh in on something.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted just to say that. Well, on one hand, yes, all those things are great achievements of culture of art, and well, even if you don't think so, you can find someone who will be able to sell you on those, and I'm pretty sure you can find people who will be able to sell you on Stonehenge pretty well.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that I cannot, even regardless whether I don't know better, or regardless of whether that's just my preference, I can fawn over something that you may find you may just find pretentious or lowbrow.
Yeah, I mean, and also not everyone starts with an interest in everything. People's tastes grow and change over time. I mean, how many fans do you think? How many comic book readers do you think those comic book films have produced?
Quite a few, I would presume.
Yeah, who would probably jumping into comics and then be like, "What the fuck is going on?" But power to them for doing that.
And the people who are writing the comic books of today, who are pretty good, have grown up on the cookie comics from the era where they were limited to certain topics and certain tropes.
Yeah.
And also, not everybody's achievements or views of achievements are the same. Like, for some people, achieving something and something like being a big thing to them is like, I don't know, like, I started a new business and we're making money kind of thing. But for some people, it's just like, I got out of bed this morning. I went and had a shower and, I tidied up.
That was literally me on Sunday.
Shocking news for most people, I think, in the world. People are different.
Yeah.
So, just so we can get along and I can remove this spoiler alert already, what were the spoilers?
That was it. Just the line. I said I wasn't going to reveal anything big, just the line. But the line itself is important in its significance that I thought it was worth putting the spoiler. I think we were right in putting the spoiler in there. That is actually all I was going to discuss in terms of spoilers. That is it.
Yeah.
So, I was just to add at the end that researching why this was controversial was problematic, because a lot of people were also memeing about this quote for all kinds of different reasons, because this is a memeable quote on its own without context.
Exactly.
So it was hard to sift through the tweets to search which ones are relevant and which ones are just memes.
Oh god, yes, it was a painful endeavor. Before we move on to a negative thing, let's move on to something a bit more positive, but also embarrassing for Rockstar Games. Earlier the year, a who can only be described as a hero fixed the what should I say, patched the loading times for Rockstar Games, cutting their loading times down significantly. Not an official patch. They basically had effectively found the reason why Rockstar's loading for GTA Online takes so long, and found a solution to it. Now, fortunately, it is a mod, and that would have resulted in you getting your account banned from GTA Online. But he said that in theory, this would cut down load times. Rockstar did it. They actually took his fix and actually implemented it into the game as an official patch, and I think paid him $10,000 for his trouble.
Yeah, that's the standard reward that they give for people who find exploits. But because this was something significant, they gave that to him as well.
Yes, and it was. They did say that it was an exception to the rule. Now, I want to talk about how utterly embarrassing that is.
Yeah, that's sad.
That is. I mean, we've got a company here who's had this game for nearly 10. This game's been with us for nearly 10 years.
Yeah, over half a decade.
Half a decade.
Yes.
10 fucking years, and they've released patch after patch after patch, update after update, new content after new content, fixes for various other things, and they never thought about fixing this. And granted, maybe no one ever thought of that idea, but still, the fact that they said, "Oh, the loading times are fine," even though people were constantly complaining how long they were.
It's taking me 8 minutes to get into a game.
Yeah,
Lemming, you did a test, didn't you?
he did a test.
Before I got my new PC and before the update, it was taking me about 7 to 10 minutes to get into a game online.
Mm-hmm.
After the update, I was in 2.5.
Yeah, that's cutting it by 75%. That is a significant. And I'm pretty. The cynical person in me likes to say, "Oh yeah, I bet someone at Take-Two crunched the numbers and thought, well, if we get players in the game 75% faster, it means they can then invest more money, and so that we'd be earning more." You know, and like thinking we'd be earning more money if we can get in the game faster.
$5
Yeah, $, basically.
Yeah.
But
I'm sorry.
No, please carry on.
Okay. I was just curious about whether there was any research done, because you can go with a sort of clickstream research showing that because of those long loading times, quite a significant amount of people might be just deciding that if they have an hour to spend or half an hour to spend in GTA Online, they would rather not spend it if 1/3 of that hour will be loading
times. Yeah.
Yes, like, how many people went, I would quite like to play Grand Theft Auto Online.
But loading
Oh,
times.
how long have I got?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got half an hour. Fuck that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fuck this noise. I'll play something on my console instead.
Yeah,
Like,
but even if, oh sorry.
No,
Ivan,
I think please carry on, Shadow.
I was going to say, but even if the intention is nefarious, it resulted in a good thing. So
Oh yes.
is that
Oh yes. I'm not saying it shouldn't be applauded. I think it's quite right that it should be applauded.
Yeah.
And good for him. Good on him, and good for Rockstar for paying the guy. I know there's some pushback for some people saying, "Well, why don't they offer him a job?" Maybe he has a job that he likes. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I probably wouldn't take said job, to be quite frank.
Or maybe they had offered him a job and he refused and he rejected because he had better things to do and he wanted to just do those things out of passion.
Yes, like,
Or maybe
who
he's in a
knows?
different country.
I looked through the game files of your game as a hobby
Yeah,
Yeah.
people
I
do
know
that.
for a living.
Yeah,
Yes.
people absolutely do that. I can fully understand someone like once something becomes your job, it then becomes a responsibility, and I can understand
Yeah.
someone not wanting to kind of make that leap. I made that choice when I got a degree in game design. Realized, hey, games industry kind of fucking sucks. I don't want to be part of that bullshit. I'd rather still enjoy video games. And I'm now sitting with a degree that's useless, but at least I can offer input on video game and design because I've made video games. I've made games. I've made this. Give me a second.
Uh-oh.
I mean, similar happened to me with my biomedical science thing, but that's a different story.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I remember you showed this to us.
Yeah, my old
Very
board
nice.
game. My old board game I made from university back in. This must be 10, 11 years old. So. Not copyrighted, so if you want to nick the idea, feel free. I'm not going to make money from it. Sod's Law in 10 years' time will be regretting those words. To be fair, it's using the Assassin's Creed license, so if Ubisoft want to come at me...
But you're not making money off it, and you're not.
Well, I've not even sold the damn thing. That's the only copy that ever exists.
Yeah, you're not making money from it. You're not you're not infringing on the market of that item. So. Oh no, Burr!
Burr, we've lost you.
No.
Oh, there we go. Oh, now something's breaking for me.
Yeah, your camera's. We can hear you.
Desynced.
No.
Yeah, the camera's desynced. It's weird.
Oh no.
Yeah, your voice is like a second and a half
What
behind.
is happening?
Yeah. It's kind of weird.
That is weird. Very weird.
Please continue as if it was normal.
Fair enough.
Try.
We're gonna try. Let's carry on. But we got the webcam glitches happening today. We got Lemming, who's got the glitches going on. We got Burr, who's a few seconds behind his own voice.
Don't worry about me. I'm just attempting to break into the fourth dimension.
No, it's just us two.
Right. So moving on. One thing I want to touch on, just from the last topic, very quickly, is the subject of effectively you. And I've completely lost my train of thought thanks to that. It's all complete. No, not your fault. Yes. Interests. People develop their interest over time. I never thought I would play and enjoy a Resident Evil game. Lo and behold, because I'm not a horror fan. I'm very much like weird in that I'm not a big fan of horror. And then a couple of years ago, I think actually no, last year, was it last year or the year before? Resident Evil 2 remake came out. I was like, that kind of looks interesting. I'll give it a shot. I actually ended up really liking it to the point that I played Resident Evil 3 remake when that came out, and I was like, I love these games. And and I'd never really say that I'm a horror fan. I like the horror theme more than I do the horror fan. And that's why I'm not afraid to recommend Resident Evil as a game to Weird, but I am hesitant to offer any horror game because I think Weird could just about get on with it. Because one thing, you got a gun, which you don't get one of those amnesia. I tell you that right now. Yeah. Oh, hi Weird. I didn't realize you were in the chat. I was just saying. I didn't put it for your audience vote game because I'm not that cruel. I would never put you in a situation where you would have to play that. But
we'll only recommend them to you, not force you to play them.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Now we move on to the penultimate news topic, unless there's anyone else who wants to cover here, because there's one last topic on the list. Nope. Okay then. Shadow is going to take the floor for the topic which there's no really kind of active news title for this one. I've merely called it Shadow Bitches About Activision-Blizzard, which is the literal title for this little SK. So please, Shadow, go on about Activision-Blizzard, which has been...
They fucking suck. I hate them. All right, so there's been a whole load of there's been like several bits of news.
Oh yeah, there's been a lot of news from them recently.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and go through them in order. One of them is admittedly quite a personal gripe, which I have quite the axe to grind, but we'll leave that till last.
I think she's got a whole wall full of axes to grind.
Mostly swords. No, so the first thing was that Activision Blizzard decided that in the middle of a pandemic, we're going to lay off some more people! Yay! So they decided to lay off around 50 people from their esports division, saying, but still saying, well, live events are still very much part of everything with Overwatch and the Call of Duty League, but we're still gonna get rid of you. Get fucked. Kind of thing. And not only have they done that, I do remember that they've also decided, yeah, we're also going to lay off from our European offices too.
Oh.
Yay! It seems to be kind of a tradition for Activision Blizzard, because I remember last year they were at the same day they were celebrating the best revenue quarterly and laying off a lot of esport related people as well.
Yep. So
then it was like in hundreds, not in dozens.
Yes, and now they've done it. They've done it again, pretty much. So everyone was going, funny, this happened last year, and you didn't learn from it. And of course, funnily enough, soon
They
after
must have learned the wrong thing from it.
well, the thing is, when these layoffs came through, also Bobby Kotick was given a $200 million stock bonus because
Oh, wow.
Activision.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bonus.
because Activision Blizzard's stock price has been going up month on month on month on month, so he gets a bonus for doing that.
So you're
And
saying so let me get this right. Shay. You're suggesting that 2 million could have potentially gone to pay the workers that they just laid off. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Oh, we all know that's ridiculous. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, no, that's not how the economy ever works.
Yeah.
Yeah, technically this bonus is not related to the layoffs, but still, can we just remember that in 2018, Activision Blizzard paid exactly no tax and was actually paid by the American taxpayer to actually exist? So, as you can imagine, a bonus for the CEO of like obscene amounts of money.
That
probably
and the
not
fact
great.
that by dumping these employees when they did, they in effect made their stock prices increase because of how that generated what's the word I'm looking for? I hate when I forget words. Basically, it
Capital?
made the company look good. The company looks better on the books, so the stock prices increases. So therefore, by binning those human beings,
Mm-hmm.
he did in fact get some of that profit off of it.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Creative accounting. I think I've heard about this.
Bobby Kotick is indeed profiting off of people losing their jobs.
Funny enough,
And should be fired.
I heard a great video about this on Fact Fiend. It's a very similar video on Fact Fiend. Great show, by the way, on YouTube. Go check out Fact Fiend with Carl Smallwood. Great show. It's about Forrest Gump and how the sequel to that is so batshit crazy that a film can't be made of it, and it was made suggestively intentionally by the author because he got screwed on the rights to Forrest Gump. Basically, the original right for Forrest Gump was basically told that he'd be paid 1% of the earnings from the film. All right?
Mhm.
And he got paid nothing. Now, here's where
How did they manage to wiggle out of that?
here's where I start to mention how batshit insane this is, and how creative accounting is basically what it comes down to. It's called Hollywood accounting in there as well. Effectively, there are ways you can balance the books in Hollywood so that your film doesn't make money. So effectively, they were saying they were telling him, well, our film's not earned any money, so effectively, we're not going to pay you. Now, if you go and look,
The doubt.
if you go look Forrest Gump, it was released in 1994, and I think if you look, the film earned $677 million on a budget on a budget of $55 million.
Something's not right here.
Do me the math here, Doctor, in the chat. 55 million take away 683.1 million. I'm pretty certain we're still in the positive, if I'm not mistaken. I can't math right most of the time, but I'm pretty confident that film has made its money back. So, yeah, it's standard thing which you see in the industry is that companies effectively fiddle the books to basically make it look like whatever they can to make it look good for them, and so they don't have to pay.
You must really suck at economy because it's clear the movie ends zero.
Yeah. That's the thing, and it was this big whole political debate. But yeah, go and watch the video on that as it has a happy ending in a weird way. But
right, let me just check something. 657 million shared by 100.
What was that thing your friend said about the
million.
economy, eBack?
oh yeah, I think my friend Arthur made a great comment to me yesterday. Well, not yesterday. It was actually Friday when I was picking up X-Wing models, which is there isn't an I in team, but there's so is shit con in economy. Just goes to show it.
What's the numbers, Lemming?
Oh, damn, I just said 6.5 million. That right, I should have gotten $6.5 million.
Yep, he should have got that, and he got nothing. to start off with, until a court case appeared. Then suddenly, mysteriously, they settle out of court for something because they realized that, because they kind of got headlines in the papers were saying the highest earning movie of the year won't pay out earnings because it didn't earn a single pence. You know, really,
Well, that doesn't look good.
really kind of sarcastic comments that, you know, headlines that were dripping with sarcasm, because it's like, yeah, the highest grossing movie of the year didn't earn any money.
I mean, that and the fact that Forrest Gump has its own Wikipedia page for the amount of awards it got.
And this is why
Shit.
actors like Eddie Murphy would say, don't go for net, go for gross, because they can't swindle you that way. But
Yeah.
that is effectively and that what we're seeing here. It's Blizzard kind of fiddling their books a little bit just to make themselves look even more profitable, and that profit goes straight into the CEO's pocket, which is not right.
No.
I mean,
And he should be fired.
and he should be fine. And let's not forget that the great Satoru Iwata took a pay cut when the 3DS was going down.
And then took another one later.
And then took another one later in the year. And just with all the hassle, he voluntarily took a pay cut. That's how you CEO.
Yeah, make sure your people stay strong, even if you take the hit.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they're the ones making the games. Sorry, Burr, you go ahead.
No, I just wanted to add that kind of also stems from those differences that you mentioned, Ebed, before, between mentality of the Eastern companies and Western. That will once again we will get into that in a moment as well. But there are much lower differences, much smaller differences between the CEO's paycheck and the line workers' paycheck in Japanese companies than in Western companies.
Yeah.
I do also feel the need to interject and say that I would like to point out to everybody on the internet that the excuse of, well, other corporations do it
is not an excuse.
Excuse.
It's not an excuse. That's like saying, oh, I've murdered this person because there are other murderers out there.
Yeah.
Does it fucking matter? You've murdered someone.
The Crusaders back in ancient times murdered loads of people. I should get away with it too. No. Change with the times. Change with the times. Get up to date and realize your people, the people you hire, and the people who are under you deserve as much respect as you do.
Yeah, I just see here on the Wikipedia page, it does mention here, Iwata voluntarily halved his salary in 2011 and 2014 as apologies for the poor sales, while other members of the Nintendo board of directors had pay cuts of 20 to 30%. So effectively, the board of directors of Nintendo said we'll take 20 to 30% off. Iwata halved his voluntarily 50% twice. That.
I mean
that's a great man right there.
Yeah. Do you know what's not great though?
What, go on.
It's realizing that he. Go ahead.
No, go. What were you going to say, Lemming?
It's the fact that he realized that he could still live comfortably on one quarter of what he was earning, if it meant that his people could maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Exactly.
That's leadership.
Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's not just being a CEO. That's leadership. That's what we need countries to be led by.
Exactly.
Yes. And that's why Bobby Kotick should be fired.
I mean, is there more? I mean, there surely is more that you want to go on about, Shadow. So please do continue.
Well, this one's more of a personal thing, more linked to World of Warcraft. It's more just a personal axe to grind. But I'll do it if we've got time.
Oh, we've got the personal axe out now, so get on that grinder.
Now we come to the battle axe. Right, so Blizzard
are
decided...
you going to cut off his head with that battle axe?
I don't have an axe.
I would love to, but I would save that. I would save that honor for Jim Sterling, honestly.
Oh, of course.
But so Blizzard, in their infinite wisdom, decided that World of Warcraft. Well, let me try and give you some context in this. So, World of Warcraft, as we know, is a pay-to-play MMO with a subscription fee. But what you can do, what you used to be able to do, is you could buy game time for 6 months, No, not for 30 days, 60 days, or 120, if I remember correctly. Which was really 180. Sorry, I can't do numbers.
Yeah, I'd imagine logically you'd double it each
Yeah,
time.
30, 90, 180. I can't do
180.
Yes. So that's what I used to do, and that was quite useful because you don't have to set up a subscription. You just put in a one-time payment, and then you've got game time. This is really useful if you don't know if you're going to play World of Warcraft for a long period of time, so you're not locked into anything like that. Blizzard, in their infinite wisdom, decided, nah, fuck that. You can only if you want to make a one-time purchase, it can only be for 60 days. Only for 60 days, or you have to set up a subscription for 30 days. And people, as you can imagine, are not too pleased with this, myself included. And now a lot of people are saying, but all you could do is just pay for the subscription and then cancel the thing. Just like, yes, but before then we didn't have to.
Yeah,
we could just pay for 30 days and be done with it. Why do we have to pay for this thing anyway? And then there's more steps here than there should be. And I didn't have all these steps before.
It sounds like they're taking like a 3-step process and turning it into a 10-step process. So, why do you make things harder? I mean, I'm not someone who plays a lot of online games, especially subscription-based ones. But why suddenly progressing like, okay, we're not going to sell that? Is it because you're not selling those subscriptions? In which case, surely having that as an option doesn't change anything.
Yeah, well,
there's too many people that have to handle the sales. And the company just cannot afford employing that many people, so they have to limit the sales plans.
I'm going to use a term created by one Jim Sterling of, once again, they are pushing the confusopoly.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think what they're trying to do is to get people to stay in World of Warcraft, considering this goes more into what the actual current expansion is like, but I'll boil it down to there are so many systems in the new expansion which is like, come back the next day, come back the next day, come back the next day, and that's why I think they're doing it this way. Also, it's become more standard within the industry to just have a one-time payment of 60 days and a sub for separate amounts, because I've seen Star Wars: The Old Republic do it.
Okay.
But the thing is, that's why I don't play that game anymore, because I can't drop in and drop out like I used to with WoW. And it's just, and to be honest, this is kind of a death knell for WoW itself for me, because it's like, installing it takes fucking forever, but I can no longer sort of drop in and drop out whenever I want to, because if I pay for 30 days, it was usually about, I don't know, it's about like a £5 or £6, like nothing like really bad. But if I paid that much, and then if I got bored like in the middle of the month and I stopped playing, that's fine. I've wasted only a couple of pounds, and since I'm not paying recurringly, it's not a big loss as if I pay straight for 60 days, and then if I stop after like a couple of weeks, I'm like, well, I've got to keep going because the sunk cost fallacy.
It's all part of their continued strategy, which is what it is. It's it's something that they've focus tested and worked out to a point where they want everybody who plays their game to be locked into only playing their game.
Yes.
So they throw so many different systems at you that you have to lock on every single day for X amount of time until it takes over every free moment you have.
Yes.
And because when you opt out, it's a lot of hassle as compared to opt in. People they are hoping people will not want to. I mean, on average, people will not want to opt out.
It's the same thing with. It's exactly the same thing with Netflix subscriptions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to.
I spent 3 months with a Netflix subscription, not watching anything, but not canceling my subscription because I'll watch something sometime. Yeah. So I just kept it going for a couple of months, and then realized, oh shit, I haven't actually watched anything in 2.5 months.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
It's realizing this and actually cancelling it that
Yeah.
people don't do. They just live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing with cancellation is there's always that bit near the end where it's like, well, why are you cancelling? Why are you leaving us?
To make you
We
feel
love
good,
so
like,
much?"
shut up. You don't need to know
And I
why.
Yeah, and they was like, why are you cancelling? It was just like, because fuck you. Because I'm not playing the game anymore.
Yeah,
And,
same reason I uninstalled Overwatch. Get fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why it really gets under my skin when people are like, oh, just cancel the sub after you do it. It's just like, why? All this extra work that I didn't have to do before.
Yeah, it's the case that they're hoping you forget about it and they bill you for the next month, and then by that time, you're too deep. You think, oh well, I'll do it next time, but then you forget again. It's how subscription-based services do actually work, and I'm not gonna say they're predatory, but they do. That is a factor in part of their marketing strategy.
I think you can say they're predatory in a way. In that regard, they are, especially if it's just the 60 days, because
You have to admit.
very easy to forget. You know, just like 2 days. 2 months to take another bit out, and you're just like, oh yeah, that thing.
It does make you wonder how a lot of them, because some of them, I can't remember which subscriptions I've been on before, but I've seen a few where they say, do you want it just to be for this month, or do you want to bill us to be for a month recurringly? And you know, I wish more subscription services would offer that idea. So it's like, if I just want a month, I could just buy a month, and I don't renew.
Yeah, but every company is out for your money.
Yep.
Therefore, they all, as standard, go with the you pay us now, and now it's a subscription.
Yeah.
Yes.
So even if you forget about it, we're going to bill you next month.
Yeah, that's what I have to constantly do with my Nintendo Switch thing. I have to turn it on and then immediately go into the settings and say, "Hey, can you not do that again, please?"
Yeah.
And it's
Well, I
proven
think
to be
mine's
working
recurring, but-
well, so everyone's doing that.
To be fair, I used to do.
exactly.
I used to do it with my. I've been very bad in the last few years. I used to do it with my PlayStation Plus account on my PlayStation, because I play games or not that I don't mind if it's my Sony, my Switch, or my PlayStation. Thing is, though, there was a point where I was a bit strapped for cash when I was made redundant a couple of years ago, and I literally canceled the subscription there, and I thought, okay, I'll cancel, but I basically cut down on everything so I can focus on what was important. And I did, and when I started back on, I thought, okay, I'll just pay for 1 month, and because I used to buy it yearly, and it used to be like a big drop of expense, so like 40 quid up front, and I don't have to worry about it for a year. And I then stopped, and ever since then I've had only the monthly subscription, but that's costing me more in the long run.
Oh yeah, it costs more at the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
but I don't do it because I'm like, but I've got to go to the settings, I've got to change the billing, and then got to pay for it in one go, and
Yeah, they make it such a farce.
they do.
Yes,
And it's
exactly.
a one-month notice when you're canceling or being cancelled in the next month. And
Yeah, that's the thing. It's all these steps, and people are just like, "Well, just do that. Just do this." It's just like, yeah, but not all of us have got all this time to spend pissing about in settings and stuff like that.
Hey, companies, it'd be nice if we had options.
Yeah, that'd be great.
You know,
Can you not take them away from us when we've had them for like, I don't know, years and years and years?
can you not take
And
them? Can you not take them away from us? Can you actually provide those options up front rather than saying, "Oh, I'll just pay this and then go into the options and change it"? Because like, yes, or cancel afterwards. And then it's like, no, that's adding more steps. Can you just provide options up front, please?
Yes,
And
if I want a service, give me the options. I'll select one, and Bob's your uncle. You get your money, I get my thing.
So much easier and quicker for one company, one team to just introduce that option than for thousands or millions of subscribers to every time cancel the subscription, then renew the subscription sometime later, then cancel it again, and do all that hassle.
Yeah, and ironically, they've kind of lost a customer for doing that, because it's just like now I no longer since I can't dip in and out like I used to, and this is what stopped me from really committing to the Old Republic. I'm just like, well, fuck you. There's no.
Yeah, but
I'm not interested in this expansion because I'm out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm burned out completely, and so
But
it's like, fuck you, bye.
The problem there is you, as an individual, don't matter to them.
No.
I know.
Because their entire market system at this point is on the hardcore people who will put everything they have in and spend more.
Yeah, and it hurts in a way because like I said, the sunk cost fallacy, and I've
Yeah.
grown up with it, kind of thing. I've grown up with it. I've grown up with RuneScape. I've grown up with the Old Republic, and all of them have fallen by the wayside now. And there's just a part of me that hurts, kind of thing.
It's-
And that's why, I mean, that's why this section's called "I don't know, bitches about Activision Blizzard," because she's been here a long time, and she, you know, they own companies, they own properties I love, and I want them to do better, and they're not doing better, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah, I have to
And
say,
the grief's collected over the years.
It's the same with me and the 2 gacha games I played for 4 years. Every month I'd be putting money in, I'd play them every day. I knew they were taking all of my free time off of me, but I'd be playing them because I did genuinely enjoy them. And then I realized I'm putting 20, 30 quid into each of these every month just because, you know, that's what I was doing. And I have outgrown them. I no longer need these games. I still love them. I'm still going to enjoy the fan art and, you know, the little works that they put out. But I'm going to put them to one side. We've outgrown them. They're not for us anymore.
Yeah.
point is, I do think how it's very interesting how in the last few years, you know, everyone bitches about EA games, but I just feel like Activision Blizzard will go like, hold my beer, you know. At this point, you know, it's like,
Warner Brothers.
yeah, Warner Brothers. They're not as
Well,
bad,
you
but
guys
they're getting
just
there.
stop trying to one up yourselves. I swear to God.
Trilogy at this
Will I
point.
stop hitting my desk?
EA, Warner Brothers, Activision.
Yeah, that's the
That's a trilogy of scummy publishers at this point.
I just like I never had to deal with what you've had to go through, Shadow, because I've never believed in a subscription-based gaming service. Bar or Xbox's Game Pass, which I think is great because it offers single-player games as like a Netflix model. I think that's really good. But what do you?
Sorry. It's not my eye needs a drink. It's eye drop.
Sorry. I just had to pause because I thought, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing right now?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
My eyes gotten a bit too dry.
I just like just let the man put eye drops in, for God's
No,
sake.
I didn't want to say about. I just thought I was thinking, should I?
Should we
Go on,
mention
what were
this,
you gonna
maybe?
What were you gonna say?
Back to my thoughts.
Yeah.
No, please,
I do have a
go
thought
ahead.
after yours, but you first.
please go back to your thought. Do what you need to do, Bear. But anyone do what you need to. But yeah, go back to my thought. It's just a case that I never believed in subscription services. So the only thing I have comparable is Netflix and Disney Plus, and I've always subscribed to Disney Plus and Netflix because they're not as expensive in my opinion, and the luxury of being able to just drop in and play it. And there have been months where I've not watched anything on Netflix. I do find myself on Disney Plus more these days because it has such a wide variety of content, especially since they've added Fox stuff on there. Oh my god, they've added Firefly on there. I'm like, oh dear. They've added that. They've added X-Files on there. I'm like, okay, this is getting dangerous now.
Wait. Firefly is now on Disney Plus.
Firefly's on Disney Plus. X-Files now on Disney Plus. Basically,
I must admit,
the
I
Fox
might get
things on
I
Disney
might
Plus.
get Disney Plus because I saw that Obi-Wan thing. I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
I have 2 subscription services myself. Well, 3 if you include
I got
Amazon
3.
Prime.
Yeah.
I'm Amazon Prime. I've got Disney Plus, and I've got Funimation.
Yeah,
Because I'm a weeb.
Funimation is that thing because it's a niche thing, so I can appreciate you having that. Amazon Prime, I'm a member of that because of the benefits as you get as a Prime member anyway, as well as the video stuff. The video stuff's more of an extra thing for me. Netflix, I'll be honest, there's not a lot of stuff Netflix offers. Star Trek, but there's always something.
Netflix is dying at this point. They can't keep up with the competition.
What I don't think is Netflix is dying is that other people will be like, yeah, we don't need you. We're just going to go and do our own subscription service. The problem is though, that suddenly created this massive bubble, which is going to pop at some point. The subscription bubble.
Because everyone's going to have their own.
Everyone's going to have their own.
Everyone who's paying for it's going to go, well,
I can't buy all of you.
pirate all of this instead.
Yeah. And that's the problem where it's companies have become greedy, and now it's a case that then it means they're all going to suffer in the long run. But that's another discussion for
Feels
another
like
day.
we've gone through this before.
Yeah, feels like we've had this discussion multiple times before. Is there anything else you want to add about the whole Activision Blizzard scenario?
Not about that, but it's interesting that you say you've not really encountered subscriptions video games, because I literally started off like with members RuneScape, and then moved moved into WoW, and then moved into the Old Republic, and then was just going between those two for quite a while. So it's almost like I've just been stepped into it, and it's
Nothing-
only just.
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying
No,
there's
I'm
wrong.
not.
It's just I've never been one to. I've always been the idea of I've paid for my game, and if I want additional content for it, I'll buy it. But I've paid for my game. If that game is good enough for me, it should satisfy me on its own. I'm a very old-fashioned gamer in that respect. Although I'm also someone who's like, surely you should just get what you pay for. I'm never have liked the idea of a live service. I think they are good for certain games, and they could be utilized very well. But it seems like sports-based games. I can see the appeal, the idea of getting regular updates for rosters of anyone who appears and things like that. And for
Take note, FIFA.
like FIFA. But
Yeah, that's a bad example.
but did the Avengers need to go to a live service model?
No.
Exactly.
Why
Well,
not?
maybe if they were a good game.
In fairness, one of those MMOs, RuneScape, was free. It was a free model, and then it had the members thing. And once you had a member subscription, which was dirt fucking cheap in those days. I was a kid. I was a kid who just got an allowance, and I managed to pay for that shit. So.
And there are even some circumstances where I can even be more amenable to like a live service thing. For example, Crash Team Racing. That would count in my view as a live service thing with the Grand Prix. I just got burnt out on it. And I think Weird, if Weird still in chat, would completely agree. We would just dedicate ourselves every month to playing the Grand Prix, and by the end of it, it'd be like, we can finally relax. Oh no, Grand Prix launches next week. I'm like, we've got to play that, otherwise we'll miss out on that content. And it became a chore. And that's the thing. I don't mind having all this live stuff. It's just like, don't say it's limited time only content. Don't give me this limited bullshit. Even if I will access it, even if you have to make me pay for it eventually, even if it's like an extra £1 or something when you're down the line, I will get it. Just let me do it on my terms, please.
Yeah.
That was.
I
win.
What the fuck?
There goes an overlay.
Shit, we've got an invasion. They're coming in.
Don't remind me about CTR.
That was perfect.
Guest appearance by Weird FGW in there. Guest appearance by Weird FGW on the show.
You briefly stole my body.
That was weird.
weird.
So
I had an idea for something to say, and that completely ruined it.
Yeah, what a way to derail us.
what a way.
What the hell was I even going to say? I can't remember.
It's fine, Weird. Thank you. I think we'll come back to you, Lemming. I think we should probably move on. I think I've said my piece.
I mean,
Yeah, we've said enough about corporations. We've had our monthly fuck you corporations.
Yeah, I'll get off my soapbox.
yeah,
now.
that's it. Seems to be a monthly topic with us, it seems. Let's move on to the actual topic of the show, which is going to be spearheaded by myself, although it's just mainly me kind of leading it on. And that is a key P word, which I've been wanting to talk about for a while, preservation. And that is the preservation of games throughout history, which I think is a very prominent issue, especially a poignant one, given what's happening tomorrow with Mario being led to the executioner's chair for as many crimes against Goombas and the Koopas. Yes, so preservation is something which I feel very strongly on, and I know that a lot of people tend to take that and tend to twist it into the whole term of like, well, piracy emulation. And I just want to lay a flat disclaimer right at the start. Piracy is bad. You should not pirate anything. You should have clean copies of whatever you have and legitimate copies. You can have a copy of your own for, the purpose of the fact that you made, but, you should never pirate anything. So let's get that clear disclaimer out of the way. We're not talking about that. We're not
condoning piracy
No.
of readily available things.
And that,
Yeah,
I
don't
think,
do that.
and that is the key point which he has mentioned, readily available, because we're getting to a point in history where hardware is starting to break down for a lot of the, I'd say, favored generation of games. So we're talking NES, SNES, kind of Mega Drive era of games where Game Boy Advance. Yeah, Game Boy Advances. You got a Game Boy Advance that you need to unfortunately would need to find repaired, Shadow. Parts are
Yeah,
becoming
I had
scarce.
to. Yeah, I had to. First thing that happened was that the battery cover went, and I had to. Thankfully, there's still parts of those knocking around, so I had to buy that. But now the shoulder buttons are going, and in order to replace them, you need to replace, what's underneath them, and that will require me getting inside the Game Boy
Yeah,
Advance.
the actual hardware.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm able to do that. And with a heavy heart, I can no longer play any games that require the shoulder buttons to work, which unfortunately means I have to put my Yoshi's Island game to bed and lots of others, technically.
And just like that, Shadow cannot play an entire generation of games that she does own.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
I'm very lucky in that I still own a DS that can play Game Boy Advance games, but their shoulder buttons are going. And also I have a GameCube like far over here, which still has a Game Boy player in it. But the problem with that is that needs that needs a TV to play, a CRT, of which are not very common anymore. So I'm running out. So eventually, I'm going to run out of hardware.
That's a third console you own that you will soon not be able to use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and in more recent news on this very same subject, Sony announced yesterday they are shutting down the online stores for PlayStation 3 and PS Vita.
And that's where this whole topic came from, at the suggestion of my peers here, because of that. And Doctor mentioned the PlayStation Store there, so rightfully mentioning there, Lemming. So, yeah, that is the thing kind of pushed our discussion of that, because suddenly there's an entire service that you can't access if you now. I will say, to their credit, Sony are at least keeping the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 stores going. So it seems to be they're retaining a generation of redundancy. So I think the PS4 store is safe until the PS6 comes along, which is good. But that's not the issue, because if I wanted to play PlayStation 3 games that I had downloaded, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
we don't even really know if they're going to offer a service re-downloading, which they really should. And this is where
I believe they have announced that you will still be able to download games you own.
Yeah, so that's the good thing. I think they should do that for the DLC and things, and that is good. It still means that you can't, however, buy new content for that system, which is itself a problem. And I'll offer it in the window of time that only I can offer. I grew up as a Sega fan and a PlayStation player, so I went from the Sega Mega Drive up to PlayStation and PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3. I didn't really enter the ecosystem of Nintendo until the Switch, unless you count my Game Boy. But even then, that was just my Game Boy, and I did own a 3DS. But it's more the point of the fact that I never played Mario 64. I never played Galaxy. I never played Sunshine. So when the All Stars Collection came out, it was my opportunity to play that and experience these games that people have said they're defining games of a generation, games that people say you should play before you die, and I loved them. You go on.
Yeah, I'm sorry to butt in,
please.
but you're playing Sunshine for the first time as on the Switch. I played it. I'm playing it on a game. I mean, I have my GameCube over here with the box of Super Mario Sunshine like right over here. I'd go fetch it, but that would take more time than necessary. But that's the thing. This is the first time like Sunshine has actually come out for recent generations, when I played it like yonks ago, and
those are fairly recent games. There's games like Mother, quite a well-known series that people say is an amazing RPG series. I never played it. The only way I can play it is on my Super Nintendo Entertainment, my SNES Mini, and people will say, well, if you want to play it, just buy the hardware. One, the hardware is failing, as we've mentioned, and two, games like that, the iconic games,
fucking where
are you going to get them? And also, if you want to play them, you're going to fork out an obscene amount of money, collector's money, for something which you just want to play and experience and not necessarily wanting to collect, which I think is the key thing, is that there's a disparity between collecting and playing. There are people who will collect things and put them on shelf, and that will be their part of their collection, and they'll look at the collection, they'll enjoy, and of course they'll play the games, but they get some satisfaction out of seeing that wall of boxes all in order, or whatever order they decide. And I think a key example, which I'm going to use as my evidence tonight, is actually a game that I've been playing on my own channel, which is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Considered a bit of a lost gem in the eras of the PlayStation. It was a 2D game on a 3D console. It got overlooked. People didn't really care much about it, to the point that the Nintendo 64 version of the game was praised in a Nintendo Power magazine of, look at this, Sony with a 2D Castlevania. We got 3D over here, boys. For any of you who don't know, that Castlevania game, that 3D Castlevania game, sucked.
Did go well.
Yes, it sucked. And it did mean that there were not a lot of copies of Castlevania Symphony of the Night were printed, and the game had become a cult status. To the point there, if you wanted to get a copy of that game now, you're going to have to smack down £300 and so for a PlayStation copy, a genuine PlayStation copy. And I would never have played it if it wasn't the fact that I can pick it up on Castlevania Requiem, a double pack with the other rare game, Rondo of Blood, which was never released outside of Japan, as part of the Castlevania Requiem pack. I'm not into collecting. I don't care about having a nice pretty box. I just want to play the game and enjoy it and see what the big deal was. And I never would have experienced it if it hadn't been for the ability for Konami. I can't believe I'm praising Konami for releasing it.
It doesn't feel right, does it?
No, it doesn't. Releasing it on the PlayStation 4. Only the PlayStation 4, sadly. But that's the issue which we're finding ourselves tonight. And I'm sorry to say, people, one of the worst offenders for this is Nintendo.
Boy, tell me about it.
Oh, yeah.
Case in point, tomorrow.
As shown on a bit from the beginning of the show.
Yeah, now, there are a lot of problems with this. Like, it does mean that emulation is the way forward, and preservation has been made, strides towards preservation being made in using emulation to preserve games and what they are. And I think that's a good thing, because some people say, well, why don't you just have like a museum with all these games? It's not about, games are more than just the sum of their parts. It's about the experience of playing the game. You know, I think the example I offered to a couple of you last week was, you know, if I wanted to read the Bible, I don't have to go to the Vatican and read the original manuscript. I can go to my store and just buy a copy of the Bible off the shelf. There's the original text for historical purposes, and then there's the, your copy, which you can do whatever the fuck you want with, because it's yours. And I feel there's a great need, especially with the way things are going all digital, for us to be more careful about preservation and offering these. And I think some companies are doing a great job of saying, yeah, we'll keep the game, we'll release this old game, keep it updated and make sure it's playable on modern hardware. And I think that's a really good thing to do, especially for computers, because computers, effectively, their operating system doesn't change too much, and compatibility, they should remain compatible going forward, give or take a little bit of wrangling. Which is why Sega, in fact, is one of the better companies for it. Again, never thought I'd be praising Sega in tonight's stream, but here we go. Their Sega Drive Mega Drive collection can be played on any console. You can buy it on any console, but the best one to buy it for is PC, because you get the ROM with it, which actually enables ROM hacks. So a lot of ROM hacks out there will say, go buy the game, and then apply this thing to hack the game, and you now have the hacked version. And I think that's a really good move going forward. I'm surprised companies haven't said, yeah, we'll release our older games on PC with compatibility so that people can preserve and play them.
Yeah, but then they're not getting all the money in the world, though.
Yes, the problem with Nintendo, as I point out at the show, is that their job is to continuously sell you the game over and over and over and over and over again on every single generation. So that it's like, okay, you bought the game for Switch, but you want it for the Switch too, right? You bought you bought the game for no enhancements. Like, sure, if it's like an HD enhance or something like that, or extra features, sure, charge me an extra couple of quid. But if it's just the original game,
yeah, you bought it once for your Wii, now buy it again for your Wii U and for your Switch. Because fuck you.
Yeah, and this is again weird Eastern mentalities coming into these things, because we've all known, and we've all say it, Nintendo's always been antiquated with the way they
Yes.
approach things. They've dragged their feet with getting their console online and with their own online service, which is not a great online
What's
service.
an online system,
Yeah.
guys?
They've dragged their feet with cloud saves.
Windows 95.
They've dragged their feet pretty much with anything customer kind of care related, and to the point where just last year we were saying, oh, the Switch getting an online kind of service, and yes, the Wii had an online service, but Splatoon was really the first time it was like, whoa, there is a third-person shooter online on the Switch. Excuse me, I need to sit. I need to sit down. You know, on Nintendo system. Yeah, and
Who approved this?
yeah, it's like,
And Nintendo have always been like 2 or 3 steps behind on connectivity on their consoles.
And yet they're several steps ahead in other places.
Yeah.
It's just so weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and even the things they are coming up with, they are making them unnecessarily complex, difficult, or just bizarre.
yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it's like saying, yeah, we've invented the flying car. Here it is, the amazing flying car. It's going to change the world. You peer in and say, where are the seatbelts?
Where's the steering wheel? Well, you have to first.
Excuse me, Mr. Car Maker. Where do you put the fuel in?
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
Fuel.
it's like they're ahead of the curve in amazing ways. The Switch. I don't think anyone would complain. This thing, which I can just pull up out of its dock on my desk, is one of the biggest revolutions in gaming for a long time. I'm not going to question that. This piece of kit is amazing. And, people say, oh, it's not as powerful as a home console. It's a PlayStation 3 pretty much in my hand.
It's powerful enough. It doesn't need...
PlayStation 4, actually. But, yeah.
My only problem is the impossibility of actually getting hold of one right now why I bought this.
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, it's weird how they can be ahead of so many in so many ways, but so behind in others. And it hurts because, again, there's so much legacy content for Nintendo. Nintendo especially. Like, I didn't play Super Metroid until last year, and it's in my top 20 games of all time.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have played it
if decades of history.
Yeah. And yes, I did play it on Nintendo Switch Online, but I can also play it on my SNES. But even then, I don't own Super Metroid, technically, because once I get the Switch 2, what then?
Yeah.
It's not like it's on my PC and I can play it forever and not have to worry about my next generation because it's not future. Effectively, Nintendo built redundancy into their stuff by having this. And I'm going to outright say it. They actively do that. Granted, the Switch doesn't have a disc tray. That's probably a good idea because that would be ridiculous. But, why have Nintendo always been about cartridges when every other fucker uses a disc?
And when they did use disc, they used tiny ones.
Well, they did use the big ones for the Wii and the Wii U, but it's like that's 2 consoles out of how many?
Yeah.
And when they use cartridges, every single one is different than the previous ones.
And that's the problem. If you wanted a backward compatibility console for Nintendo, it's impossible because there's so many ports you would need on the damn thing. It's like kind of Frankenstein's monster of ports.
Yeah, that's why they've always been backwards compatible with the last generation, but only that generation.
Only
There's
that.
always a console that comes out. For example, you had the original DS and the DS Lite still had backwards compatibility with GBA systems. However, as soon as we got the DSi, it was like, nope, no more compatibility. If you haven't got something to play your GBA games, then fuck you, kind of thing.
The Switch
was about when the DSi came out that I got my first one, and I went, I'm not getting that. I want to get a DS Lite.
Yeah, no, I don't have a DSi. I've got the original clamshell, the DS Lite, skipped the I, and then I went to the XL. Actually,
the Switch is also not backward compatible because it has no other way to play it. I mean, it has released a lot of the Wii U games on Switch, but let's be honest.
First 3DS.
That's mostly because the Wii U failed.
Also, it bears noting, rest in peace.
Oh, the PSP.
No. Yes.
This was the PSP Go digital download only.
Let's see if I can one up you there.
So therefore, with there not being a store anymore, this is a brick.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see if I can one up you there.
We're just playing one up now.
I got this thing,
Yep.
the PlayStation Vita.
Of Vita.
Yeah.
At least the Vita allows Vita cartridges.
That's true. This thing, I have to admit, I pulled this out. I found this, I think, 2 years ago, and I booted up, and it still works like a dream. And I still keep it around. It's in my kind of collection of stuff, which I'll probably never ever use again. But every now and then, I break it out. And I'm like, yeah, it's with my 3DS because I'm not going to play my 3DS.
It's 3DS.
But yeah, this
The writing, because it's reversed, says you can become a hero.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the main point that I'll try. I mean, what are your thoughts on history and preserving access to games for people to be like, okay, what was Mother all about? What was Mother all about? What was Super Metroid all about? You know,
It's important. It's as important as any, like, remembering any artwork or our own history.
Mhm.
You know, and in the grand scheme of things, remembering where we come from is essential.
Yes.
So as human beings, we need to remember that we came from certain civilizations. As gamers, as people who enjoy the art of games, we need that roadmap of
Mhm.
where we came from.
Yes.
And the interaction, that's the problem. The interaction with the artwork,
Yeah,
with the books or with the pieces of art is so much simpler, so much easier. That preservation of those is way easier for people to just enjoy them.
Yeah.
Whereas with games, the main form of interaction is actually playing the game.
yeah, it's a
And
lot
it's
more
so
complex.
much harder because of that.
Yes.
Much
Yeah,
more
and
complex.
I look forward to one day having my nephew here at a time, you know, at an age where he is capable of interacting properly and playing a classic video game with him.
Mhm.
You know,
And
like a Mario game with Mario and Luigi on
Mhm.
at the same time.
I'm not going to lie. When I was younger, I used to not really understand the appreciation of like the older games. But then that's the thing, because you are a child and you are ignorant of the fact of this stuff's important and this stuff is still enjoyable. It doesn't matter about the pretty graphics. And yeah, that's why in my later years, I've grown. Not my later years, but my more recent years, I have grown more appreciative of the SNES generation, and of course the generation I missed, and of course the Nintendo 64, which, to be fair, you know, that generation is completely lost to time because I think that generation, the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, is the hardest generation to find games for, because it was kind of an experimental era. Things were a bit up in the air. No one knew what they were doing, really.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, come on, Nintendo. That Trident fucking game controller. Come on.
that if anyone says that was the most perfect controller in the world, I would take it and beat them across the head with it, because it was not. Oh, Jesus Christ, no. 3 hands?
Where do you put your freaking hands?
Exactly.
Well, the logic apparently is because you hold it in different ways for a 2D and 3D game. It's like, well, fuck you.
Stupid.
Yeah,
It's
why
Stupid.
can't you just, I don't know, hold the controller like this?
Like a normal
You have
person.
two hands, so you have two holdy bits.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have 2 hands for holding things.
Having been in my university days working with quite a lot of industry robots designed by Mitsubishi or Sony or Honda, I kind of understand that it's just a Japanese thing to design something that is so bizarre and so weird to use and requires you to do all kinds of weird gestures. You grab here and then you press buttons here, and
That was
yeah,
the Wii then.
compared to that, the N64 controller is so intuitive.
I mean,
It's the classic idea of let's make something weird.
I mean, let's face it. Let's give it its credit. It has the first analog stick. That's about the only thing it's got going for it, really.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing. Every controller has every modern controller has its genesis. I still say the most you've got the analog stick from the N64. Most controllers wouldn't have the handles if it wasn't for the PlayStation, which which is what the most controller shapes these days are designed from, which eventually folded into the Xbox and now has become that standard design. It's just
Ergonomics.
ergonomics, yeah. But getting back to preservation,
Mm.
I think it's imperative that we don't just preserve the code or a cartridge in a museum somewhere. We allow people to be able to say, no, play these games, see what they were about. And
Yeah,
I think...
to-
Go on.
ahead.
No, please go ahead.
To experience an art gallery, all you need to do is go to the art gallery. The art is a visual medium. You look at it and you go, yes, that is that is superbly made. I
Yeah.
can feel the emotion coming from this piece of art.
Mhm.
To appreciate a game, you need to play it.
Yes.
It needs to be
Then-
in a form that you can interact with.
Yeah, the analogy could be to keep those works of art instead of a museum, keep them locked in some warehouse where they are kept in perfect conditions with proper humidity and in the dark, where they're kept properly, but no one sees them, no one interacts with them.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how the American government stores the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
That thing is kept in
Mhm.
a sealed container.
Yeah. And,
There are many ways of
Mhm.
properly storing things.
yeah.
Oh no, Lever, you froze. Oh, you froze for a minute, but you're back now.
No, you're back. You're back.
I was just gonna add can we add flash games to this now?
I mean,
Yes.
games.
Well, now we'll
it's a
have
game.
to.
Because I was looking for something that ran in Flash, and of course I forgot that Flash is dead now, and so loads of games have just disappeared. And also old movies as well, like really old memes, just gone.
Yeah. Go on.
However, there is the Internet Archive does have a page of like Flash games that they've collated and are running on an emulator. So
Yeah, there's Flash Game Archive.
Mhm.
yeah,
You can go
which I
and
which
there's
I do.
loads.
Yeah, which has all the original games like I don't know, All Your Base Belong to Us, which isn't a game,
Well,
but
that's-
the meme.
But that's because the uniqueness of the things that are done on PCs and on computers in general,
Mhm.
which is that actually Adobe doesn't paywall now, that you would be using Flash for all those preservation purposes, where you will be just emulating the technology on your own archive. They don't care. They just discontinued their support to it, but all the rest is just up to you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the thing is I feel
It's still, as Lemming said, that's still a part of our culture that's disappearing because
Yeah.
video games are intricately linked to the internet, whether we like it or not.
yeah, and I think I do agree with you. I think that is something which also is important to do. And any game that I feel there should be no kind of qualms about. Any game should try and be preserved as much as it can. I know that gets dicey when it comes to certain games.
Online games are really screwed on that.
Yeah, because as
Rip RuneScape.
As soon as those servers get turned off, that's it.
well, not just
Yeah,
that, but like I think Chad and I had a discussion. Like, what version of World of Warcraft do you preserve?
Exactly. I mean,
Or do you preserve all of them?
yeah, I mean, well, Classic exists, but they're going up to Burning Crusade now, so it's like, so what are we
Yeah.
preserving now? Are
And
we
hell,
preserving?
do you preserve it by patch?
Yeah,
They-
yeah, hell,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Every
This is what we
step
were
that
saying.
game took.
They're already kind of abandoning WoW Classic if they are updating it to
Oh, yeah.
the Burning
Yeah,
Crusade now.
Well, the thing is, also with you can have two, as we were talking about, we can have two different sorts of games, like Star Wars Galaxies, before and after the Jedi patch. Like, which of these, as we said, as we were talking, this is going to be up for debate. Like, it's going to come down to opinion, which is the most true to that game. But it's still a question we're going to have to ask ourselves. It's just like, is it what the players consider original, or is it what the creators consider original?
Even Mario has that discussion to kind of bring it back full circle to Mario. Mario 64, the version of Mario 64 that exists on the Nintendo All-Stars collection is actually the fixed version, which actually fixes the whole backwards long jump glitch that allows you to get up the staircase. And that apparently was a big contention for speedrunners in the community who feel like that it ruins the speedrun aspect of the game because suddenly they've got the inferior speedrunning version to play as the kind of the official version. So now,
it's something similar that happened with the Command & Conquer Remaster collection that came out earlier in the year, a few months ago, where they openly said that they hadn't fixed an AI glitch with the remaster because it was so integral and part of the community. This glitch, which basically meant that in the original Command & Conquer game, the AI enemies didn't recognize barriers as an enemy. So you put a sandbag wall in front of the enemy base and they'd go, there's nothing there, and just not do anything about it. So you could lock them in.
Yeah, they just couldn't trace a path,
But because it became such a big thing within the game, like that was how people beat the hard mode AI, they left it in because it was part of the community.
Yeah. And also, can we just talk about the fact that Mario Sunshine is running?
Is actually running on emulation. Yeah, that's the thing. Is when it comes to stuff like this, Nintendo actually is the worst for enforcing their own very tyrannical opinions on how.
Do as we say, but not as we do.
Yeah, do as we say. But not as we do, because
don't use emulators unless you bought it from us.
Yeah, don't use emulators unless we're the ones that are emulating it. And that's the thing, because in their minds, even if you've made a copy of the game and it's a copy game, you're still breaking the law in their minds. Even though you're not breaking the law, because that case you're not breaking the law, you're just breaking the law that Nintendo feels you're breaking. Whereas I'm like, you kind of lose the high ground when you're emulating your own game on your own hardware. You know,
exactly. At some point, I'm going to have to emulate Pokemon Platinum, and I have the game. So what the fuck are you going to do about that, mate?
Yeah, that's the thing. I think if you've got the game, that's all fun. That's all well and good because you're not pirating. I've got a copy of the game, and it's just more convenient. I mean, if I'm completely honest, I've got to find my 3DS. It's over there. I've got to charge it. I've got to put it in. I've then got to deal with the fact it's on the screen. Yeah. I'd much rather have it on my PC.
Yes.
I can't even remember what game I've got this right now.
Absolutely agree with that.
Yeah, what do I have?
And also, I wanted to mention that the things that are happening to like SNES and the Segas, that is also something that's already happening to the old microcomputers like BBC Micro, like Commodore, like Amiga, like Spectrum, like Atari. They are already going through that. The computers are now only the sort of things that collectors are buying and are keeping in pristine conditions. They are tweaking with it. They are welding parts. They are doing all kinds of things to preserve the hardware, but mostly for their own collector hobbies. Yeah, and for the general public, is just a matter of emulation, and the only way you can interact with them would be via ROMs. Which would be all around the internet as kind of abandonware because there are 40-year-old games.
Oh god, yes. Oh, yeah, abandonware is another thing because people talk about PC gaming and how it was the best in the early. In the 90s and noughts, that's not the case. You know, I'd say in the last 10 years, since the kind of middle of the PS3, Xbox 360 era, on until this era, games have become a case. If you've got the PC version of a console game, you've pretty much got the same game. Whereas beforehand, PC existed in its own weird little bubble where it had its own versions of games, and some were better, some were terrible compared to the other versions. Some PC games are exclusive only. I mean, I picked up a copy of this game just for my own personal use. I'll grab it on my shelf.
I mean, yeah, that's before we even look at the Commodore and Atari sort of versions.
Sheepdog and Wolf. It's a game that no one would care about, but it's a game that I love and have strong memories with.
I remember that game. I never played it though.
It's great. It's a great game. It's one of the. I think it's another one of the hidden gems that I tend to kind of espouse the pleasures of. And no one would care about this game. No one's going to ask for a HD remaster of this. But I still feel it should be preserved, because if someone finds out and it's like, I'd like to play that, someone should have the opportunity to play that. And I know that a company will look at that and think, well, there's no money in that. And I completely agree. But then that's why over time they should allow, because it's the classic example of, well, I'm not making money from it. And it's not economical to do so. Okay, what if I do it? No, because that's our intellectual property, so please do not fuck with it. It's like, but you're doing nothing with it. It's like, but it's our property, so we're not going to do it. It's like, that frustrates me so much when people do that.
There's always some money in it.
This is one of those few times where I will ever praise EA. Because EA are actually really, really good when it comes to the legacy of the games they hold.
I'm not gonna lie, you are right. You can. I think...
No.
Oh, there you go.
Do you remember what they did to Dungeon Keeper?
Oh, here we go. Ding, ding, ding. We're off. Ding, ding.
New iterations, because frankly, the Command and Conquer mobile game was bollocks too.
Yeah, well, that's kind of two separate subjects, because one thing is what they're doing to
games that are like older. For example, Dune 2. One of the first real-time strategies ever made. Nothing runs it anymore. You know, if you have a disc for it, it won't run on a modern PC.
I can vouch for that.
They set up a website.
Oh.
It runs through your browser.
Oh, wow.
You can play Dune 2 on a browser now.
I never thought I'd be saying a lot of things in 2021, but good job, EA.
Yeah.
That's kind of thrown me for a loop, actually.
Keep it up. Just keep it up. I kind of feel like I've got identity crisis syndrome now. It's like, am I really saying this?
It's getting cold in here.
You can buy this, but you can get for free the original Command and Conquer and Command and Conquer Red Alert in their original pre-remaster forms for free off the official website.
I will say they are good with that, and I think the best company, at least for offering this, is Microsoft.
Yeah,
because PlayStation, they of course fortunately have got an issue where, they've got backward compatibility between PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, sure, but PlayStation 3, what's that? Backwards all the way to PlayStation 1. Even though it's the same format, they're all on discs. There's no excuse to why they shouldn't be able to work. And I know people say, oh, but coding emulation costs money. It's like, fuck off. I'm buying a £600 console here. Give me my fucking money's worth. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. But yeah.
It's still got a Blu-ray drive in it.
Yeah, but what I mean is, it can't be that much to just emulate a thing. Surely the coding is still the same in some respects.
Yeah, that's the thing. You would have thought that the company who made it would be able to emulate it, but Microsoft, I think they are fully. Well, I think they're definitely not 100% compatible, but a majority of Xbox content will work on the Xbox Series X, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
with Microsoft, one of my original Xbox games over there, put it into my Xbox One. And it would go, oh, would you like to download the working version of this? I'd be like, yes. But
what were you going to say, Burr?
I was just saying that with Microsoft, it's so much easier because the architecture of the Xboxes are basically the same. They haven't gone deranged one day like Sony and decided, let's go for a power PC for one generation. And they didn't come up with Cell all of a sudden. So it's much easier to emulate for them. And they would definitely go for that.
Yeah, I think it's very. You should praise Microsoft for that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to praise the companies that also work on trying to get and bring to the light the forgotten games on PC, like GOG is doing.
GOG,
because the kind of games like you have, the Sheepdog and Wolf. There is a chance that they would find that there is money to be done on it, and they would send their people to track the person who has now the rights to that game, which is not easy. They will try to somehow convince them to sell them the rights, they'll try to get the code if there is code. Sometimes there is no code, sometimes the owner of the license will be some oil baron or someone who doesn't care that this game will bring him like $50,000 because this is what they earn every minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be said that companies need to do more to preserve. And I think we're getting into a situation where companies take your properties, sell them to take your games and sell them to GOG. Licensed games are a key violation of this stuff. There's a great game, Transformers War for Cybertron, great licensed game, can't buy it anymore. Deadpool, can't buy it anymore because licenses expire, and the reason for that is it's bullshit. I've never heard of a film being like, I can't buy a film anymore because the license ran out.
Yeah.
You know, what the
It's
fuck?
It's dumb. It's stupid.
Yeah,
Ridiculous. It is dumb. It's another classic example of the law not allowing for the exceptions or the advancement of technology. It is a clear issue of that, and the complacency of law to not change it because lobbying and making sure they keep their hands on property. Or well, I don't know.
I just need to interrupt and say thank you, Duke Vid, for the raid.
Oh,
holy shit!
Hey!
Thanks, UK.
Hi.
We're talking. Welcome to the Commandant's podcast. We've got, of course, got Lemming. That's Burr over there, and of course, Shadow Phoenix right out, and myself, Back the Cat. We're discussing video game preservation and the importance. In fact, I think UK is actually also another example to use as Kingdom Hearts. You know, talk about a series that has been spread itself across
Oh my god,
the entirety of video games. You've got a game on PlayStation 2, a game on on Nintendo 3DS, a game on DS, a game on mobile. It's like
hello everybody who's just joined chat. We're discussing stuff, and we're about to be discussing some more stuff once we get off this topic. But for now, continue.
And thankfully, they did release the Kingdom Hearts collection, which you can get the entirety of the Kingdom Hearts series on one kind of release disc, which is amazing. And that's coming to PC, which of course now that's coming on PC, that will be continually updated by, even if it's by fans, to make sure that it works with modern systems. So that game is now preserved, which is great.
It also means, blessing be, light of lights, I might actually be persuaded to
play
try
Kingdom
it.
Hearts. Bless her.
Same.
You should. It's a great series. But I think companies need to do more to make sure that the games from not just their current lineup, but from their past, their history, is easily accessible in a way that would carry forward. Not like every time you get a new console, you're going to have to rebuy this again. You know,
Yeah, that's not what we meant.
No. You know, let us buy it, let us keep it, and that's where. And people say, "Well, is there a way to do that?" Yes, Nintendo, make an online website, a website where you can sell ROMs of your games. Sell the ROMs to people. They will get them and play them. And yes, you're gonna do.
I will buy that shit.
I would buy the hell out of shit. People would sink money into buying Nintendo 64 stuff and old Nintendo GameCube stuff, especially if you offer the software to then emulate it.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
I mean, if I truly admit, if they came out with like a mini GameCube, I'd be like, I'm sold. Just give me, take my money.
I mean, it's not solving the problem because you're still selling the mini GameCube, but yeah.
Give me that, and that's a junction box to the internet to one of your servers where I can download GameCube games with a cool controller that works. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would do that. I
Yes.
would spend £5-10 on a digital copy of a game through this little junction box.
We will pay for your shit. Let us give you money.
Why have no one thought about this? To say, okay, well, we're doing these mini consoles. What if we just have like internet connectability and have our own like a storefront in there where we sell extra games?
Ugh.
You know.
Yeah.
You know.
Have a storefront which is basically GOG for consoles.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You already have parts of it in your Nintendo Switch Online service. You just have to follow it through.
Yeah. Speaking of following, thanks for the follow, Juki.
Yeah, by the way, anyone who's in my chat, go check out Juke. She's an amazing streamer. I definitely pop in and raid her at times as well. But no, I mean, does anyone else want to add more to the topic of preservation as we wind the topic down for the evening and potentially maybe even the show down?
I think we said everything about preservation that we give us. Just please preserve what you can. It's our history, it's our legacy. There are many games that are worth looking at, and we can't if they're not able to be looked at.
And so someone who says like, "Oh, it doesn't matter. They're old games and such," is like it doesn't matter. And I'll offer an example of how it can end up very badly for a fandom, especially. I'm a big fan of Doctor Who, and back in 1963 when the show first came out, it was not common to save recordings of shows because they would never be rebroadcasted. They're a one and done because syndication would never be a thing, and so they would retape over the original tapes.
No.
There are so many episodes just no longer there from the first and second Doctor eras that you just cannot find. You cannot make them anymore because they're gone. They're gone throughout time. You've heard stories about them and what the story is and from people who saw the episode years when it originally ran, but
that soon will not be the case anymore either.
Yeah, they will soon no longer be there, and and yes, you get some people who say, "Oh, I've got the audio," and they're like, "Okay, let's do like an animated version of it and such," and that's great, but
it's not the original.
It's not the original, and I mean, it comes as close as you can. It's emulation, as it were. It's so important that we preserve games so that even in insignificant, even terrible games, even X-Men Destiny deserve to be preserved, just so we can tell how awful it is.
Yeah.
And on a subject of preservation, it's also the history of the individual things.
Yeah.
For example, one of my personal favorite items that exist is a Game Boy, just an original Game Boy that was in the first Gulf War.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And it took a bomb strike and survived.
It still plays.
Still plays.
In fact, it's plugged in permanently at one of Nintendo's museums.
Still playing Tetris to this day.
Still scorched to fuck, but permanently still playing Tetris.
I think the damage was so bad the cartridge has melted into the console itself.
Yeah,
It is.
It is wrong with the Tetris.
Yeah.
But that's preservation. The fact that Nintendo went, we want to keep that alive, means something as a as a subculture to us.
Yeah.
And the irony shouldn't be lost on you that it was Nintendo that did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna say that's also that's also why another point against Activision Blizzard is what they did with the Warcraft 3 thing, where on Battle.net, Warcraft 3 Reforged overwrote the original
Warcraft 3.
A terrible example of a bad example of preservation because it's fine to have the remaster, but the remaster shouldn't replace the original, and the original should be still offered as a legacy content to show this is where we came from. And that's why I love the fact that EA offers the original Red Alert and Command & Conquer completely free, and also why they say, well, you can also switch the game mid-game as well at the same time. So it offers both angles.
And also the same company that made Warcraft 3 Reforged, Blizzard, is offering StarCraft 1 in both versions at the same time.
Yeah,
you can have the original StarCraft 1 and you can have StarCraft 1 remastered.
And also WoW Classic as well.
As Weird FW says in the chat as well, I want an N64 virtual console on Switch, please.
Yes.
Yes, please. Give.
So this is my heartfelt message out to companies. Preservation is important because without them, it seems to be that Metroid is a lost series these days. With Metroid Prime 4 coming out, sure, there's renewed interest, but before that, there was a long gap in the series. And I only played Super Metroid for the first time last year and loved it, and so much so I played Fusion as well. And
and guess where Prime is?
Yeah, Prime is
on the GameCube. And that's never come back.
So many great series, so many great games throughout history that are now lost. Even games some would see as insignificant and not even worth preserving. They should be preserved so that people can still at least the good, the bad, and the ugly. It should all be out there for people to play and experience and see what great times you've had, the bad times you've had, and the struggles you've had along the way.
Yeah, and also, what the fuck were we thinking?
And what the fuck were we thinking as well? And with that note, I think that's a nice place for us to finish for tonight. Don't you guys agree?
I agree, the rest of it can wait.
Yes.
Nice time.
So next time on the Commandant's podcast, it'll be Doctor taking the place of Burr. Next time we'll sit on next time show. In the meantime, we'll be keeping an eye on the news events over the next couple of weeks and seeing what will come up in the news. Of course, if you are interested in picking up the Mario All-Stars collection, be sure to pick it up before tomorrow when Mario will finally meet his maker, which is finally after Nintendo. And the next Commandant's podcast will air on the 27th of April, which is of course the last Tuesday in every month. The next time topic is still up for debate, but we'll look at probably announcing that a bit closer to the time. Who knows? It might be someone else running the topic rather than myself.
Something may come up this evening if they
No, we are lucky.
I mean, don't ask me. I just make stuff up as I go.
Yeah, I just let these guys go, and I follow along with them.
Oh,
And then occasionally.
Well, people say we always joked where we always play Squadrons on Tuesdays, and at the end, it always ended with us having a 2-hour conversation on variety of topics, and to the point where we just kept on saying we should do a podcast,
Yeah.
until finally
Here we are.
doing a podcast.
And we're on our 3rd episode, so clearly we're doing something right.
Yeah, clearly we're doing something right.
By next episode, all that stuff back there should be cleaned away.
Right then,
I
guys.
will still be here. hopefully.
And I'll still be here. I want to thank the other members of the Commandant's podcast tonight, of course, Shadow Phoenix Rider, Lemming Russ, and Burr. And of course, my name will be back here at the Scratching Post, where we scratch that gaming itch. And don't forget, I'll be streaming tomorrow with Shadow and Divot, as we'll be watching Weird, hopefully finish The Outer Wilds.
And we will be mocking him relentlessly.
And
but,
we'll be mocking relentlessly, yes.
but in a sweet way,
In a
because he's
sweet
our
way.
friend.
I am doing quite a few streams this week. This Thursday, I'm doing an Evil Genius 2 stream.
Yes.
Yes, as like a one-off stream. And on Friday, you can spot me in the Rashado as he'll be a part of my duo live stream that night, as I will be jumping completely blind into Ori and the Blind Forest.
Hey.
Looking forward to that. All right, guys, I think that's enough from me. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Right.